Hey y'all, welcome to the first episode of what I like to call the Incompetent Gardener, which is me. I'm Justin. I will be your guide through this train wreck of an adventure that we're going to have. This is our first episode, our first video that we're going to be doing. Today I want to talk about soil profiles, how to figure out your soil type in order to better help you figure out what you want to plant. For the longest time, as I worked with my garden around my property here, I kept struggling with getting things to grow because I was planting what I wanted to get into that soil. It wouldn't work, it wouldn't properly grow. I'd get really pathetic, weak plants and couldn't really get anything that would match what I wanted. Started studying horticulture, became a horticulture major, which is kind of just my side gig right now, which I enjoy to do. I enjoy doing. I love being outside, working in the garden, working with my hands. As you can see, I've already been outside gardening. I'm covered in dirt, planting trees today and working on my raised bed garden, which you guys will get to know intimately throughout this misadventure. Then I started studying the soil and learning about the profiles and textures of my soil and what that means for growing. So I'm going to teach you guys today how to do a soil sample. So this is a simple, easy soil sample. We'll tell you the type of soil that you have, and I'll show you how to do that. I'm not going to make you sit for all of our computations. I will teach you how to do the math on this so you can figure out the percentage of your soil structure, and then better have an idea of what will go well, what you can plant, what will grow well, and then what struggles you might have with your soil, whether or not you need to do certain types of fertilizers or any kind of amendment. I started this process doing everything I could to change my soil and amend my soil to meet my needs. I have changed my concept on that and my stance on that, and this year is going to be a big experiment for us, where I am going to plant based off of my soil type. I'm going to find the plants that'll grow better in this soil, that'll work better with this pH balance and with these nutrients. At most, I might have to adjust pH here and there, add a little nitrogen. We're going to work with cover crops. My goal is to become as biodiverse and sustainable as possible without altering the landscape around me. I'm going to fit myself into the landscape and utilize its strengths and capitalize on its ability to grow. As you can see, I live in a very rural area. It is all woods, which has its strengths, it has its weaknesses, it has its challenges, and we're going to go through all of that together. All right, so soil test. What we're going to need is a simple mason jar. Wide mouth works best. Definitely want to have the cap in the ring for that, as well as a 1 cup scooper, and then a soil sample from where you plan on planting. Now, the previous soil sample that I've done right here is from my backyard where I'm building my root garden. This soil sample is from my front yard where I'm putting in kind of like a fruit orchard. I am very big into working landscapes or edible forests, food forests, edible landscapes. Everything that I plant has to have a purpose, either feeding my family, feeding my animals, or pollinating honeybees, which we'll get into another episode soon where I will be bringing a honeybee hive, actually 2 of them, onto the property, both for pollination purposes for our property as well as the surrounding area for some of the farmland out here, as well as to generate our own honey, and then just the health benefits of working with bees. We will do an entire video just on beekeeping, both from the start of picking the bees up all the way to getting them established and situated, how to properly integrate a hive and all that stuff. We'll get into that in a later video. Back to soil. So where you're going to plant, I dig down about 8 to 10 inches or about to where I plan on either planting, in this case trees, or how far down I expect my plants to take root and grow. If I'm doing root vegetables, tubers, potatoes, sunchokes, carrots, beets, anything that has to go into the ground to propagate, I'm going to dig down to that level that's going to be growing at. And what I'm going to do is I've taken several samples from one of the holes I've dug. I'm just simply going to get a couple of cups out of this. Try to pick out any organics that you can. I'm going to put 2 cups in my quart jar. So there's 1 cup. I'll do 1 more. If you've got any roots, leaves, sticks, try to get those out. Otherwise, they're just going to be floating in your sample, and you're not really going to want that. Here goes my second. All right, now you just kind of want to break up any of those hard pieces. You want this about as broken up as possible. Another easy way to break it up is just put some caps on, shake it up, beat it up, and that'll break a bunch of those little clods off. I'm actually going to take a little bit of this out. I went heavy on my scoops. About half full is more than enough. What we want is that measurable height and those measurable layers. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill this up with water until I've got about an inch of headspace, or about to the base of the neck. And then I'm actually going to cap this and shake it just so I can get all of the air out of there, because I want as much water incorporated in this as I can. So break that all up. There we go. Now you can see it settled down a little bit more, so I'll add just a bit more water. Now I'm coming to you from southern Alabama, where we've got a lot of that red clay, so as you can see, it gets really muddy really quickly. Now before I cap this one last time, I'm going to put about 2 drops of Dawn dish soap. There we go. And that's just kind of a sticking agent. It's going to help bind these layers together in the shaking process and give us our full layers. Now I'm going to shake this like I'm making a martini for about a minute. Hopefully, if I've got the right editing software, I can speed this up for you. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck watching me get an upper body workout. But you want to get this as shook up as possible. Flip it over. Make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom. So you can see all the bubbles are going away. That's what it looks like right now. I still haven't even gone a minute, so I'm going to keep going. Invert it, shake it around, get it all mixed up, all fully incorporated. Within about 30 minutes, you'll start getting defined layers. As soon as you stop, you'll actually see the layers starting to form. Your soil is made up of 3 particles. You've got sand, you've got silt, and you've got clay. The bottom layer is all going to be sand. Sand's going to have the largest particle size. It's going to be the heaviest, and it's going to float to the bottom, or drop to the bottom the fastest. You're looking 0.05 to 2.0 millimeters per particle on the sand. For the silt, it's going to be your medium size. You're looking from about a 0.02 to 0.05 millimeter. Take it back, it's 0.002 to 0.05 millimeters per particle size. And then clay is going to be your smallest particle size, and that's going to be anything less than 0.002. And again, those are millimeters. All right, I think we've got that incorporated pretty good. Here shortly, you'll actually see the bottom layers start to form, and that's going to be your sand dropping straight to the bottom. So we're just going to set that down. What I would do, find a nice cool place and just let it sit for about 3 days. After 3 days, all of that sand, silt, and clay is going to float to the bottom, or sink to the bottom, and you're going to get these defined layers. So this is a sample I did quite a while ago. This one's actually a couple of months old. You can see how clear the water is, and you can see this is my sand layer. The really dark is my silt, and then the top light layer is clay. So what I've done then is I've taken my handy old ruler, and on the centimeter side, I've measured it. My sample here is 6.5 centimeters tall. So from base to top, that's why I like these wide mouth jars. It's basically a rectangular structure. You hardly get any flare at the bottom. It's going to be the easiest to measure. You don't want a jar that's got a sizable flare on the bottom. It'll be close, but your math might be ever so slightly off, and that could cause you to mislabel what kind of soil that you have. So the other thing I'm going to recommend is that you download the soil triangle. You can find this pretty much anywhere. If you Google soil triangle, this will give you your texture triangle. This is what we're going to use to figure out the soil that we have. So I've measured my layers. My sand is 4.75 centimeters tall out of a total of 6.5. My silt goes from 4.75 to 5.8 centimeters. And then my clay is 5.8 to 6.5 centimeters. So the way we're going to figure that out, I'm going to use my handy dandy calculator since my phone's being used to film this. I'm going to take my total sand. I'm going to take that 4.75 and I'm going to divide that by the total height, or the total volume of that sample, which is 6.5. And that's going to give me 0.730 whatever. And then I'm just going to multiply that by 100. And that gives me 73% is sand. That's my soil. 73% of that is sand. I do the same thing for my silt. But this is our soil. So we've talked about the soil profiles, what it's made up of, how to figure out what your actual soil profile is. And then you can actually look up on the line. UC Davis has a great site on soil types and soil structures. It'll tell you what grows great in that soil, what you might want to do to amend that soil, and then anything that you might need to do to alter it or change kind of how you're already gardening. If you've been struggling like me, you realize that sometimes you just have no idea what's going on. That's why I call myself the incompetent gardener. I am discovering all of this through trial and error. I've been working this garden in my yard on my property for years. Some seasons I have done fantastic. Other seasons I have failed miserably. I realized that I got more successful when I stopped fighting against nature. When I stopped fighting my landscape and fighting what is already growing here. It's already growing here for a reason. I like to figure out what the native species are, what goes good in the grows good or what grows well in the area. I like to figure out what is working here and what's been here before me. A lot of what we plant now, if we were going to the garden centers or local nurseries, a high majority of that, 85 to 90% of what's in the nurseries are all implants. They're all imports. They're non-native species. Sometimes they'll grow, sometimes they won't. And it doesn't matter. They'll send cold weather plants to the south. They'll send tropical plants up north. They're going based off of what they think they can sell. I mean, I know people in upstate New York that buy pineapple plants because they look amazing. And they're excited to think that they can grow a pineapple in New York, and it never goes well. So unless you have a greenhouse. So they're going to sell you what they can to get you to buy. I like to buy what is native here, what already grows here, what grows here naturally, because that's what's going to grow the best for me. And if I can find a way to incorporate that into my family and my life, then I'm going to be a lot better off and a lot more successful in what I'm gardening. So thank you for joining us on this initial video. I hope that you guys are able to learn a lot with me, but I'm going to show you the ugly side. It's not pretty. It's not organized. It takes planning. And it takes failure. It's going to take a lot of failure before you have a lot of success. And you might be successful on the first go, but then if we don't learn about crop rotations or altering what we're planting, where we're planting, how to deter pests by changing our locations on our plants, then we're going to be less successful the next season, and even less successful the season following that, until the season after that, nothing grows because we've completely killed our soil. And all the pests know exactly what we're growing, where we're growing, and they're there waiting for it to sprout up. So we're going to go through this together. We're going to learn this together so that we can do all of this together. I'm not going to show you a beautifully maintained garden, because those are Facebook gardens. Those are filmed to look gorgeous and make you feel like, hey, I suck because I'm not doing it right. No, we're sucking because we just don't know. So we're going to learn. So let's go learn together. It's great to meet y'all. I look forward to all of our videos in the future. And I look forward to all these new things that we're going to learn together. So thank you. I'll see you next time. All right, here we are after a few days. You can see it's got 3 very specific layers. We've got our sand layer here, our silt layer in the middle, the darker one, and then the lighter clay layer on top. Looks to be just about even with the sample we took from the other side of the property. So I would definitely classify this as a sandy loam. But that's how you're going to do your soil samples. You can see there's still a lot of clay particles up here, but it's starting to get less cloudy. So probably in about another week it'll be clear, much like this one.